Welcome back to the International News Stage. I'm Tein Hee from Stuff Talk TV, and right here we have Josh Shaeffer, Vice President from Runtastic, to give us a brief overview of what Runtastic has been doing in the areas of wearable tech. Now, Josh, would you like to give us a brief introduction of what Runtastic does?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me today. So Runtastic, we're an Austrian-based company. I started in 2009. We're now upwards of 110 million downloads, so we're an extremely strong player in the health and fitness space. We started off with the core Runtastic app, which is a GPS tracking app for running, and you can also use it for cycling. Instead of sticking with a one-app model, though, we built many different apps for many different activities. You can do Runtastic apps for push-ups, six-pack, if you want to work on your six-pack, which I need to after being in Vegas for a little bit, and a host of other different things. And now we've also moved into the hardware business, wearables, the Runtastic Orbit, which is on my wrist. We also have a smart scale, which we'll talk about here shortly. But what we've really done is built a software side, the apps, along with the hardware, and created a health and fitness ecosystem.
Right, so you mentioned you guys started off as an app developer. You had a Runtastic app. So what is the driving force behind moving from a software developer into a hardware maker with your new weighing scales and also the fitness trackers?
That's a really good question. So first and foremost, we are still a software developer. I mean, 110, 120,000 downloads every day. We keep crushing it on that side. What we found was our customers asked us to start moving into the hardware business. They said, why aren't you guys doing heart rate monitors? Why aren't you doing other devices that we can use? GPS watches. We love your app, but sometimes we don't want to run with our smartphone. And this is about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when we started announcing our hardware line at CES in January of 2012. And that started off with really basic things like heart rate monitors with Bluetooth, simple things like sports armbands that fit comfortably. And now we branched out to the Libra, which is the smart scale that measures a ton of different body metrics, as well as the Orbit, and of course, future things to come.
So from what I see with the current wearable tech, they are using quite a number of simple sensors to gather your data. Do you think there is a need to include more complex sensors to actually gather more accurate and better data?
You know, that's a good question as well. I think we're at the cusp right now of figuring out what sensors and what data is extremely relevant to most people. The challenge is if you try to put too many sensors into one device, you start to impact things like battery life. And nobody wants to have to recharge a device every day or every couple days. People want to wear this on their wrist for a week. And then that changes habits. If you have to constantly charge something, then you might not put it back on your wrist, which is the last thing that a wearable maker wants to happen. The other thing with additional sensors, say temperature, body temperature, heart rate, it's what is most relevant and how are you going to show that to the user. So it's just because you can track it doesn't mean you necessarily should or there's much value yet for the user unless you can really explain it to them in a clear, concise manner that they can actually make habits or make life-changing habits and improve their overall fitness and
so
health.
It's interesting that you mentioned that gathering the data itself is not the only thing that you need to do. You need to make sense for the user. So in this aspect, how does Runtastic help the user in analyzing the data?
Sure, and that's something we're actually working on quite a bit. We have something called the Runtastic Me app. It's a new app that we launched in conjunction with the Runtastic Orbit. And what the Me app is, it's a dashboard app that is slowly starting to provide an overview of your total health and fitness, what you're doing with the Runtastic ecosystem. And this is really the place where you can analyze and see what you're doing, stay motivated, and kind of keep pushing you to the next level. Be it improving the number of steps that you're taking each day, going for more mileage on running, doing more things with our strength app collection, be it push-ups, be it sit-ups, whatever it is that you're trying to improve. What we've seen and what we're moving toward is really providing a really great user experience to be able to access the entire ecosystem that we do, as well as certain key partners.
Well, in our earlier interview, we were also talking a bit about accuracy of these data, of the fitness tracking. So, in your opinion, what is the best way to improve the accuracy of these fitness trackers?
So anybody can track steps. I mean, these all have accelerometers in there to be able to track steps, and there's a ton of companies that do a very good job with it. it's then it's going back and taking that data and doing something special with it. And what we found to be important from our users is if you go for a run with our running app and you use another running app, and you do the same exact run, the calorie calculations can be wildly different. And we really like the fact that we have a very clear, simple algorithm across our platform of apps. And we work with certain other companies that we know also have very accurate calorie counters as well, because users want good data. And that's just really important for us and how we set things apart, and why we work with certain companies like MyFitnessPal and others. So it's really important for us to have good data, good calorie, good consistent tracking across the board.
So right now, most of the common metrics that we are looking at would be mainly the number of steps taken, your calorie intake, and also your sleep monitoring, how deep or light your sleep is. What do you think is the next big metric that people need to take note of when it comes to wearable tech?
Again, well, I'm glad you mentioned sleep, because this does sleep, and we also launched an app recently called Sleep Better, which you can put on your bed as well while you're sleeping. You can gauge how well your quality of sleep is when you're in deep sleep, when you're in light sleep. So I think the next thing is just being more aware of everything. I mean, maybe sleep. We talked prior a little bit about Internet of Things. I think that the IoT is really an exciting space. All these things can be connected within your house now with Bluetooth. Imagine you may have only gotten six hours of sleep. Maybe if you're watching your Apple TV or something, you get a notification. And you're watching TV. You should go to bed now. So there's things that can tie together with the wearable, with the apps, with what you're doing on TV. I mean, smart fridges are coming soon. Maybe you weigh yourself in the morning and you're way too much. You say, are you sure you want to open the fridge and it's 9 o'clock at night? So there's a whole host of things that we can look at and working with the various companies out there.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that someone constantly nagging at you, telling you that you have eaten too much for the day, right? I mean, truly, IoT is one of the big things that we are seeing at CES. And you've mentioned quite a few examples of what potentially Runtastic can do in the near future. But do you have any idea of, beyond IoT and also the connected homes, what else can fitness trackers do for users in terms of like usability or ease of use?
Well, let's see. So with usability and ease of use, the most important thing is when a user starts using a product is that it's a very simple onboarding process, right? And that they understand what the benefits of something may be. So that's what we feel like we've done when we get someone using one of our apps, is slowly showing them what else they can do and how they can improve. Be it, not everybody maybe needs a wearable, maybe not a smart scale, because you're trying to achieve different goals, but really understanding what they need and then helping them along that life cycle, or improving their overall fitness or health.
Well, when we're looking at IoT, we're also looking quite far into the future. But let's look back to the present time and something a bit more towards the future. Virtual reality. We've heard a lot about VR in last year's CES and also this year. So for Runtastic, do you guys have any plans to develop apps in the VR sector?
Yeah, so it's a really exciting time for us. In December, we announced the very famous 7-minute workout. We modified that. We did, our fitness coach, London, she created a 7-minute workout specially designed for Oculus, and which this can actually be tested at our booth in Hall C across the way. It's an extremely amazing experience. Wearing the Oculus, you're set into 3 different places, like an Italian villa, like a grassy hillside, and you watch an avatar, and it's able to track your movements using the accelerometer in Oculus. So you can go through this 7-minute workout and be immersed in this, this beautifully designed 3D world. And this is a test concept for us that we're excited to be working with Oculus on, and seeing where this can lead. Because most people think of virtual reality, you're thinking of games, but we're stretching that to try to see what it can do in regards to fitness. So we think that there's a whole lot of touch points. Of course, going out on that run, doing some push-ups, taking the amount of steps you need, weighing yourself, all those different things that we've talked about. But let's try some new things, looking at what we can do with VR as well.
But with VR itself, do you think it would be a more accurate measurement of what you're doing in terms of fitness tracking? Or would it be more, how would I say, stressful on the muscle group itself? Because I was actually trying out the Oculus VR demo just now, and I got to say I failed at the whole test. So does it really help that much in terms of fitness development?
So first of all, don't go use VR if you went out big last night, and you might not have such a good experience. It takes a little bit of time to get used to it. So if you try it for just 30 seconds, you're going to be like, wow, what's going on? But after a few minutes, after a few workouts, and I've tried this a handful of times. It's actually, what I've seen is when you're in this VR world, you're really focused on your core too. And because you have to stabilize because you can't see everything that's going on around you in real life. So I think it personally can be, if it's well designed, which we're using the accelerometer within the Oculus, we see that you can get a better gauge of what you're doing and still using that same calorie calculation that we have across the platform. So this will be able to, once it becomes a viable product, provide that calorie calculation. You can input a few metrics, your height, your weight, etc. So the algorithm's going to know how far you should go if you're doing squats or if you're doing front lunges or something of that sort.
So potentially, do you see a future where athletes use virtual reality and also the Runtastic software to train for the marathons or even for the Olympic Games, for example?
So I don't know about focusing on athletes. I'd rather focus on people like you and myself, because I think that's the bigger market for everything. Athletes, they have coaches, they have everything at their disposal. I mean, what they do is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you can see some of these really amazing Olympians here at CES doing some demos on different things. What I think is important is to engage regular people in new and unique ways and get them more motivated. Maybe virtual reality is something that is going to really engage people to be more active, to do that 7-minute workout, because maybe just on their phone at home, it just doesn't work for them. Or maybe they've been using Oculus for an hour playing video games, and a notice pops up saying maybe you should do a 7-minute workout real quick and then go back to games. Maybe people could be rewarded for doing a workout within the game. So we've had some discussions with some game companies about getting people to be more active, and then they get more points, more coins, whatever it may be.
All right. So one last question. You mentioned you're looking more towards the general users who want to just keep fit. So what is the one good reason for anyone to buy a fitness tracker or wearable tech?
What was the last part?
What was the one reason for people to actually to use a fitness tracker or wearable tech?
They want to improve their well-being. That's pretty much it. It's very simple. You say you're stuck in a rut and you want to have a crystal clear ability to see what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, using simple LEDs, using the apps. It's taking that extra step each day. It's burning more calories, being more active. That's personally what I feel is just taking that next level, becoming healthier. And as we know in the United States, we have quite a big problem, no pun intended, with people's size. So it's really important to get people more active again. And I think that wearables, I think they're doing a really good job in showing people that they need to be more active and then how they can get there.
So is there a way to nag me to be more active, to actually just get rid of this tummy?
Even a wearable can't help that. I mean, it's of course inside of you, but I think people, when they just have they see it more and it's in their face a little bit and more, and they realize how inactive we've become, that these things like the apps and the wearables can really help push people to the next level. And just from what we've been doing on the app side, because we have 5 years of data, we see that our